Hey, what's up? It's your boy Bobby Sapphire, and today we are here to talk about the Richmond Sector Qualifier, won by Will O'Neill. Shout out to Will from across the Galaxy team. Great Northeast competitor. I've played against him in tournaments in the Northeast. Formidable opponent, and he took it down with Sabine ECL. It was absolutely disgusting. Make sure you watch the stream. Part of this was recorded on Saturday, where we talked about day one, and then we talked about day two following the tournament results. So that'll be spliced in too. Thanks for watching. Check it out. Hey, what's up? It's your boy Bobby Sapphire. I am here with Justin and Steve from the KTOD. It's time for the KTOD radio podcast. What's up, boys?
That was such a reserved "What's up?" It's your boy Bobby Sapphire.
You think so?
Like threw me off for a second. Usually it just comes at you, like you know what I mean, like a Ryan Seacrest type energy in American Idol. Today was so reserved.
Usually we do this at 6 a.m. and I'm trying to muster some energy, but now I'm just in like chill weekend afternoon mode.
That's what's up, baby.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was exhausted last night when I got home. All that shipping yesterday.
All that shipping. Me and Steve sent out like 20 boxes. I got 20 more that just got delivered to ship out more boxes, and yeah, we'll see.
I'm not driving master. No, the shipping was easy. Actually, it was the drive that was a pain in the balls. But I got to go on the boat.
Yeah, we went on a boat ride with the dog. We did some shipping. We hung out because we're not in Richmond. Richmond just happened. We're recording some of this after day one, and we're gonna record we'll splice in the day two stuff as we go. But yeah,
600 over 600 people.
I think it was like 592. I think it ended up
592, so right under 600. But that's awesome.
Still, that's an insane amount.
Very close to 600 people. A lot of energy, new meta.
What's the over/under on number of people going 6-2 and not making the cut?
I don't know. We'll see. Ron seemed to think that the way they did the math is that everyone, because of the extra rounds on Sunday, that everyone, I don't know what he said, but he thinks that all the X and 2s are going to make it. So I'll say this. I haven't done the math myself. I've just kind of trusted what people posted. I'm going to be doing the stream. I mean, it'll have already happened by the time people watch this, but I'll have already interviewed Ron on stream. So we will see.
Awesome. How long we been friends, bro?
20 something years
at this point?
26 years.
On dogs, you got to ask him where my showcase is.
All right, I will.
Yes.
It's not an approved question.
You heard it.
Bring it home.
You heard it. I guess you'll see this after the fact, but yes, let's go.
The over/under, I'm going to say that I don't know how many, but I know my guess is that a couple X2s won't make it. And I really hope that, I guess my first hope is that it all goes right and they did it right. But if it doesn't, I hope that they learn and make some changes. So we'll see.
Yeah.
I think one thing that...
Sorry, go ahead.
I'd say two comments on just sort of structural changes. One is that getting more people into day two is a good thing. So that needs to be a structure that they implement. So they have this sort of top 64. Allow it to be 128 if possible. Allow more rounds. Potentially just get more people playing. Yes, there might be some people who make day two and complain and say well, I made it, but I can't do anything. But there's going to be some people who make it and are just so happy to actually make the second day. They might not be someone who's middle-aged. It might be a kid in high school who's just really excited, who gets to go back and say, I made day two.
Yep.
And have that your focus point. Don't have it as someone who's just sitting there and saying, well, I can't top 8. I can't do this. I don't get a perfect world. Because that person doesn't need to be pandered to. Pander to the kid who really is excited to play cards and be able to play more cards.
Yeah, and
that's the first one. And then the second one is just, hey, there are, and the second, they're tied together. Magic has made it in such a way that you can make day two at 6-3, and for the old GP structure, and Flesh and Blood is a similar structure, where they have a larger day two pool. There are prizing incentives, but it really is about getting more people to play. So get more people to play, allow more people to play. The reason why people, I think there's a little bit of pushback and strain right now is you're saying, hey, I'm doing really well, and I might not be able to play. I might not be able to compete. I might go X2 and actually not get to play on that Sunday. So it's make sure all those people get in because they had a good day. And then if someone gets in and it's their record isn't going to get them to be able to top 8 or even top 16, that might just be a great experience for that person. We saw so many stories coming out of Denver, I've mentioned this twice now, but the Leia what's
Lake
the Lake
Country.
Country deck.
Lake House.
It's like that was, you know, maybe they could have top aided very possibly, but like they didn't, right? But does that mean that the story was not a successful story? Like it was
Right.
such a cool, successful story that we saw Lake Country on day 2. We saw like people making it, and like I know I played against someone who like early on day 2 like beat me, and then like we didn't have the best records at that stage, but they ran the tables and made day 2, and it's like those stories are still good. It doesn't necessarily need to be tied to like a flashy playmat or some prizes. It can just be making day 2.
Yeah.
See, I'm on the opposite end of the spectrum. Denver was perfect. You guys don't need to change a goddamn thing.
Just keep it all the same.
Just run it back, baby. Let's go.
People don't want to play day 2 and they'd rather do side events because they don't think they can achieve something, that they're still welcome to do
That's
that.
the choice.
And
yeah,
then
absolutely.
all they had to do was drop prize tickets on the table every round and say like winner takes these. Like winner gets 2, loser gets 1. Whatever it was. That's all they needed. It wasn't a lot. They just needed to give some incentive for people to stay in the main event. That's it. But I agree with everything Justin said in addition to that. All right, this is probably the screen that I meant to skip. All right, so if you don't check us out on YouTube, you're listening to this, maybe check out our YouTube channel. We post videos a couple times a week. This week, I talked about a gameplay mechanic similar to chess, where you put someone in check. Justin broke down the deck building choice of what base to use, because we're going to talk. I have the meta numbers for Richmond
Awesome.
on bases. We're going to talk about how that affects gameplay, and obviously, like Steve did a great job in Denver, top aiding with Luke Datavault. And just like a lot, Tata and Maddie are playing Datavault in Richmond right now. We're all kind of loving Datavault decks. People love their Colossus deck, so the base choices have been awesome.
Sweet. Trendsetter, bro.
All right, just keep going. If you also want to check out our Patreon, we have a private Discord that's Patreon access only. It's got 1,659 plus people in there right now. The Patreon's popping off. We also post free content. We have 1,500 free subscribers where you can just get alerts to things that people who don't hit that button don't get. But we're doing great, and we appreciate all our subscribers, especially our VIPs.
Shout out to VIPs, of course, but also shout out to tournament prep and above, because I think we've gotten really great energy. You mentioned the bases. We were talking about like sort of wagers on where we think the bases will be for Richmond, and it's a weekly podcast. We do it on Thursdays. Mm-hmm. It's quickly becoming my favorite one. I think Thursday's a brilliant day to do it because we're talking about like, all right, let's get you ready for a big event like a Richmond. Let's get you ready for our PQ. Let's get you ready for just what is it, the store showdowns?
Yeah, and it's every week.
And talking PQ about what we would play. Yeah, and PQ season starts. We have one the next week.
Yep.
May the 4th be with you. And I know there's a whole bunch that weekend in different regions. So it's like, hey, we're talking about the meta that we just saw, and then we're talking about how we would pivot to it and what we'd be expecting for the next week. So I think it's and it's just a fun time. Like we keep it very casual on that podcast. It's definitely my favorite content that we do.
Yeah, it's great. It's a Thursday night weekly podcast. It's on our $15 tier or higher in our Discord, our Patreon. But we do have a VIP tier, and shout out to these 8 individuals who are on us on our VIP tier. They've been huge supporters of us, and we really appreciate them going the extra mile and jumping on that tier. We've got special gifts for everybody on that tier. Has a special VIP hoodie. What's up,
Rick,
Steve?
my dude, you got your own special box.
Oh,
your order wouldn't fit in anything else.
Oh man.
Nice. Yeah, we got Rick a special box. He ordered a bunch, which was great. These are just our biggest supporters, and we really appreciate you guys.
Goat tier.
Goat tier, absolutely. And then you can check out the Fourth Wall shop. There's us in London rocking the gear, and you can see that we have our Sabine's Masterpiece exclusive boxes on sale now. I think we have just under 40 left, maybe.
Yeah, it's right around there. Yeah.
Yeah. And once they're gone, they're gone. We're not making those ever again. So if you're into the Sabine's Masterpiece style of art, there you go. Check us out. And then, give Maddie's channel a sub, KTOD Maddie on YouTube. He hasn't been posting over there. He's been mostly focusing on Discord and Discord content. But, you just want to be ready if Maddie ever drops a video over there.
And right now he's been focused on his Richmond grind.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll get some Richmond content on the KTOD Maddie channel because he's out there.
Yeah. He's gaming
in the
with
trenches.
All right, and then we're in the midst of
Man.
the Road to Worlds tour. We've got one more stop before Worlds in
Get
Minnesota.
that last one done. This has been amazing, but it has been a lot. I will tell you that.
I told you guys that this was a bad idea. Nobody listened to you, though.
It's a great idea, but it has been. We've been like the event planners. Like if you think about like, you know, Steve, you're getting married, and Mike and I are married. It's like you have your wedding planner. It's like,
oh my god,
we've had to do this.
I'm not doing anything on the wedding
for all of this. It's like contacting restaurants. You know, community's been good, but like getting it all set up, making sure we have, you know, a setup, a time, making sure the people that are on the other end understand what, you know, what's about to happen. You're about to get 80 KTOD maniacs running into your space.
Dude, Denver
it's been a lot, but it's been sick. Denver was wild.
Denver was crazy. And honestly, if you're going to Lille in France, like I sent a huge box of shirts and coins and stuff over there. So like, yeah, it's just all happening over there.
Did it get held up because of the tariffs?
No. I smuggled it in.
Maybe is the Lil Hang going to be like an underground club one that we don't know about? It's got like foam and everything.
Yeah, it's like ice caves or something.
Ibiza.
That'd be nuts.
I went to Ibiza this summer. We were the only people who stayed on the
boat.
We had the boat by ourselves.
Why didn't you hang?
Because everyone was at the David Guetta concert.
You're just doing like the thing with your hands where you're dancing with the KTOD stuff.
He's making the KTOD symbols.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The pattern.
Probably do it. So I only grabbed Maddie was getting ready for the event today, so he dropped us a few pictures of the hang last night. But you could see him there with the Golden Dice guys, our friend Graham, Phil, who's a local, semi-local to us. He does the judge content for us sometimes. But yeah, it was. Maddie said it was a great turnout, and yeah, the guys had fun. Looks sweet.
Yeah, super exciting. Love these pictures. Love the pictures of just people hanging out.
Yeah, I love when guys from like another podcast show up in our shirts. Like that's always fun. Like
that's
I love
sick.
that.
It's also just dope to be like, what's your name and like what's your real name too, and like what do you look like, and like, you know, just like that sort of general, like you get to actually meet someone as like a friend.
It's so you see, Sim, you know, what his name is, and it's just like Sim. No, but really, Sim. What's your name? Sim.
Symbiote. What is it? What's your real name? Oh, Symbiote. Sorry. Short for Symbiote.
Yeah, so I definitely miss. I don't have FOMO, but like I wish I was grinding right now. Like I wish I was playing in the tournament right now for sure.
Yeah, I was saying to Mike yesterday when I was over there, I was like, it kind of feels weird. This is like the first tournament one of us haven't been at.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and I'm like
Maddie's
a month ago or whatever, after I'd gone like 8 out of 9 weeks, I was ready for a break, but that hasn't been the case. Like I've been to one in the last 8 weeks now, and I'm
well, nothing will motivate you to play more than not playing on like a weekend that looks like people are having fun and playing. Like if you had gone to this one, you're probably looking at Richmond being like, or no, excuse me, Minnesota being like, oh, another one. It's a lot, right? So, you know, we're traveling to all these things, we're trying to meet people and play, but missing this one makes like I'm super pumped for Minnesota now.
Yeah,
I would say I feel the same way.
The thing that I like have to cross-reference that is, you know, for the last, I don't know, 6 months, I've had a deck that I felt really in tune with, and now I don't have that, which sort of like has added a level of like stress or extra work, you know. It's felt so easy to just say like, well, I know this deck really well, it's good, and I'm good with it, and now it's sort of like, all right, well, who am I now? Like, what do I do next, sort of thing.
Who am I?
Yeah. So
I mean,
I gotta peek you in.
I'm actually genuinely excited for Minnesota, and like I haven't wanted to go to any of the previous tournaments I've had to go to. So
nice.
Maybe we're trending in the right direction.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely excited for Minnesota. I wish I had more time there, to be honest, but I think I'm most looking forward to Vegas and like thinking about how many days extra I'm gonna stay in Vegas. That's sort of
Vegas
like
is gonna be insane. Bro.
Well,
come down on Tuesday with Tada and me.
Well, I definitely can't do that, but I'm gonna be staying later. I know you guys are going early, but I gotta stay later.
Well, that's a bummer.
I'm gonna be partying with what's that kid's name? Dart. He's gonna be in Vegas. I don't care that he got drafted by the Giants. We're gonna hang out with him in Vegas.
Oh yeah, we gotta reach out to him. Get him on the. Get him on
this player that got drafted.
No, he's
a huge Star Wars fan. Jackson
cool.
Dart, first rounder, first quarterback drafted, not Shadur.
The Giants traded up to get him.
And he wears the Anakin eye black. So I got to reach out to him on
quarterback that wasn't
media.
like that. Those top two kids or
Oh
whatever.
no, yeah, Cam Ward
Yeah.
was number one. I don't know.
Has Sanders gotten drafted yet? Still no.
Still not on the board.
Not of this
Where's
recording.
where's Belichick when you need him?
Coaching at
Somebody needs to
UNC.
pick him up.
Can't. Transfer portal.
If
He
you're
lost his
yeah.
eligibility. All right. Richmond meta. First, we're going to talk about bases. This spreadsheet, I mean, this chart is a little
Wow, this
rough.
is a cool one.
Look at that data vault, bro.
So 14% data vault.
That's
But there's
Stevie
something
A's.
glitched here
That's
because
all
like
we-
there's like an Obi-Wan up here somehow, but like, and also
Well,
all
I'll
of
tell
the
you,
yellows are
data
split.
vault over ECL. Like, who would have ever predicted that?
Yeah, no, for sure. Like,
Trendsetter, baby.
yeah, the green
Get your
bases
new
are crazy.
KTOD
Well, wait till
gear.
you see the leader breakdown. But the biggest thing here is like adding up the 30-point bases are still 30% of the meta. Tarkentown was the largest base, 17.2%. That's way down from Richmond.
And that's like
Denver.
CAD. That's like the Django's all disappear. Well, not the 30 Django's, but the CAD and Quinlan's are still repping it. And I'm sure there's a few random decks that are still playing Tarkentown.
Yeah, and it looks that there's about 10% 30-point yellow, which makes sense. Like if you add them all up, you got to kind of go like 1% Pike.
Yeah, how does that
1.5
work?
level
Oh,
13,
you
but
have like
you have to do it.
you have like
manually.
Moss Isley
Yeah,
and Chopper.
you can see that they're
together.
all there, and about like it probably adds up to about 10% between them all. Lot less blue, a lot less green, but a lot. I will say 5% Echo Base, 3% Jabba's Palace. 4% Mos Eisley. Like the people have spoken about their favorite 30-point bases.
Yeah, Moss Isley is your favorite. Like slight winner over Jabba's Palace.
Yeah. And then 11% Colossus is pretty wild. So like
that's big.
Speaking to your video, Justin, the 33, 35-point bases are 25% of the meta. That's a quarter of the meta is above 30 right now.
Yeah, and where's Lake Country's at 1 point.
Oh yeah, Lake Country too. So yeah, 26%.
And didn't they say Sabine? Is Sabine the number one deck too?
Yeah, we'll get to it. I didn't know if you wanted to say anything else about the bases, but I've got the.
All right, can I do my final predictions? I haven't seen.
Yeah, so this is
the
day one Richmond meta. Justin hasn't seen these slides yet, so go ahead. What are your top three?
I think. Well, I thought Sabine was going to be number one no matter what, and you just kind of mentioned it, so I'm going to stick with that. Although looking at this, I might actually have maybe wanted to change that answer, but I'm going to stick with Sabine number one. I think Quinlan number two. I think Anakin Colossus number three. And I'm going to go with Luke Green number four. People want to be Steve. They want to either be him or be with him.
So I don't. Let me check. I'm checking the.
Luke was low. I think Luke was like 1%.
I'm in like the coverage channel for the stream, and so we don't have. So I'll switch to this. Will be the leader tier. We don't have them organized by base, but like 10% Sabine. That's yellow and ECL and like mono or blue if anyone's playing those. But so Sabine is 10%, which was the highest. Mm-hmm. Quinlan 9%.
Yep.
Second highest.
Han 7.
Han was 7. Cad Bane.
7. Cad's up there.
And
Luke
then
is low.
Luke is 5.7% is Luke. So that's pretty high.
Oh, see, I read that wrong.
Hero of Yavin.
Down below. I was looking at the wrong
Luke Faithful Friend right in the middle there.
Kira at 3 is really low.
Yeah, and I have the counts too. There's 60 Sabine, 54 Quinlan, 42 Cad, 42 Han, 39 Anakin, 34 Luke, 27 Vader, 25 Gar, 25 Piet, 23 Kira, and then everything, and then 19 Boba, 18 Palp.
There being 4 times as many Leias as Bobas is pretty wild. Oh no, that's the other Boba. I need to know the sub names. That's Hero Boba. But even the other Boba is still 3.2. Okay, 3.2 makes sense.
Yeah, 19 of the new Boba, villain Boba.
I think it's interesting that Sabine's number one and over 30-point bases is number one too. Like you would think they would be inversely.
Yeah, right, because they're not connected. Right.
But I guess if you're thinking about it,
you're just grouping them.
People playing plus over 30 kind of next leveled or those are the people that probably anticipated Sabine being number one.
How many? What was ECL on the last slide? It was
14, 12.4% ECL.
Yeah, so then some of those Sabines are going to be yellow base, but some of there could be like a Quinlan ECL or like a Bosk ECL or.
Yeah, I know Maddie played a Bosk ECL round 2.
Got it. That makes sense. I mean, it's one of the things that we definitely were thinking, and I think we were proved correctly, is a pie chart that visually looks like this. You've got sort of a lot of things somewhat connected to like a 10%, 7%, 8%, 6%, and that you're not seeing anything above 15 to. You're not seeing like the larger wedges here. You're not seeing Sabine. I mean, I even think what is Sabine 10?
Yeah, Sabine's 10%.
I even think that's low. But that's sort of what we thought, right? We thought there'd be just a lot of variety.
It's wide open, which I think is
wide open. I love it.
A good sign, right?
It's a great sign.
Pretty funny. There are only 16 Bosks, and Maddie played Bosk in the first 2 rounds.
There's going to be a lot of showcases given out tomorrow.
Denver, I played
not tomorrow.
Vader Blue my first 2 rounds in Denver.
Yeah,
what are the odds of that?
Yeah. I mean, variance is wild. Alex played 6 or 7 Django's in Denver. It's all random. You can prepare all you want, but the randomness is going to get you.
Darth Vader, just both Vaders, is actually, you add them up at 7%, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, both Vaders.
What did Todd end up playing?
Kira.
He did play Kira? Interesting.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
cool.
So there's the Richmond meta, and we'll see how that translates into day 2 right now. All right, updated Richmond prize wall. So they made some changes. The mats are now 1,000. When Denver started, they were 2,000. They have the Poe soft crate deck boxes, which we didn't have in Denver. So these are exclusive to Richmond now. That's the only place you can get them. The pins were 500, and now they're only 200, which is cool. And then they added sleeves and deck pods, as well as lowered the price on the card. So the prize wall was.
This is how prize ticket inflation happens, guys. Just from an economic standpoint, we don't necessarily think it's not necessarily a positive thing. Our value of our individual dollar, in this case, prize ticket, is going to decrease.
Well, dude, in Denver, it went from Mike, you can have all my tickets. These don't even matter. To hold on, give me my tickets back. I can get everything.
I know. If you were wheeling and dealing on day 1, you basically bought at pennies on the dollar. It was like oil during COVID, like $1 a barrel.
No, this was, for those of you who watched Squid Game, this was the Marble episode where Mike was just convincing all his friends to give him his tickets. No, we'll both win. And then we'll all be there. And then you realize you're just getting completely shut out. And Mike's like, hey, look at all these cool mats I got.
Mm-hmm. Shout out to this. I can't believe you watched Squid Game.
Yeah,
I don't. I don't watch it for the reasons I would think you wouldn't watch it. But
yeah, for those of you who don't know, I am really not a violent TV show person. I'm into science fiction and stuff like that, but Game of Thrones, no, not into any of that stuff. No, thank you.
I didn't watch Squid Game either. I did watch Game of Thrones though.
All right, so diving into the day 2 meta, you're going to see a lot of people talking about the representation number, and the shift that goes from how many people played the deck on day 1 versus how much of it qualified. And what this chart does is it shows you that the percentage of the tournament representation, and then how much of a representation these decks or these leaders had in the top 64. To start with, you see that this is an order of day 2 representation. So Quinlan Voss was about 17% of the day 2 meta, but it was only 9% of the day 1 meta. So that kind of doubling there, that means that all of the Quinlans, not all, but many of the Quinlans outperformed their day 1 performance. It became a greater portion of the cut, right? Kira, huge, went from 4% all the way up to 14%. Lots of Kiras converted. That's where you're seeing the red lines in this chart. Han Solo from SOR had a great representation. Sabine Wren had great representation, 10% of the day 1 meta, 13%, 12% of the day 2 meta. Cad Bane also a huge leaper. And then, so those are all sort of meta decks. Vader JTL, which is a deck that I've been working on, and actually the team has been working on a lot, both in the yellow, blue, and actually the red form too. was huge. It jumped off. It was 3% to start on day 1 and became over 6% of the day 2 meta. That means a lot of people took Vader JTL, did really well with it, and it showed up in numbers on day 2. One where you can really look at the conversion not going well is Anakin Skywalker. Yes, ABG Phoenix Kyle Warren did pilot that to top 4, but he was just one of a few Anakin decks that made day 2. Even though it was 6.5%, 7% of the meta on day 1, it dropped down to only 3% of the meta on day 2. Because there were 2 Kylos in day 2, you see higher numbers there, as well as Han from Young Han from Shadows. And that was a great performer. And then some of the low performers were Boba Fett from JTL. Bosk didn't really show up on day 2, and then Flamed Out didn't make top 4 after a good run on day 1. The SOR Darth Vader and Gar Saxon both were large parts of the meta on day 1 and didn't make it through to day 2. Most of the other decks kind of fell in their numbers. Mace Windu, only red. There's I think only one Mace Windu in the whole tournament, and it made day 2, which is pretty insane. So we look at these numbers if you're sort of like new to tournament analytics. We look at these numbers to help us predict the meta and what's good. So these main decks that we think consist of the larger part of the meta: Quinlan, Kira, Han, Sabine, Cad, Anakin. When in a larger field, 600-person field, those rise to the top. They have more good matchups. They beat all the chaff decks or the non-meta decks, or however you want to call them, the rogue decks, at a higher rate, and that's what allows them to move into the top cut or day 2. All right, when we look at shift percentage, we're looking at what percentage of these leaders that were played day 1 moved into day 2. So Kira, over 10% of the Kira's total played made it into day 2. Han Solo, about 8% of all the Han Solos made it into day 2. Same with so those were the big 2. Victor Squadron Leader made it above 5%. What we can really look at here are the big losers. No Piets made day 2. No Palpatines made day 2. So the total shift of these is negative, right? Like a lot of people play them, but no one made top 8. It was a negative percentage run. We can look at this again, combine it with the previous chart to sort of look at what's doing well when played against the field. After 9 rounds, the decks at the top, they're the ones that rose above the competition, both, random decks, random opponents, and also just against other decks of the same leader in base, leader in different base. They outperformed the rest of the competition. All right, after Swiss, Michael Conroe from Team Secret, an incredible 11-0-1 run. He was 11-0, and then he drew with Alex Blandin from my KTOD teammate in the final round, so he went undefeated all through Swiss. Incredible run by him. Will O'Neill, the eventual champion, he came in second in Swiss. Alex came in third. John Morris fourth. Phoenix, ABG Phoenix on Anakin classes came in fifth. My other teammate John Tada, good friend Mephisto from Bothan Network, came in seventh. And Waters Swoo, I don't know Ben Harper, but Waters Swoo, I don't know Ben. But we can look here and see Ben came in 8th with Quinlan. Michael was in 1st with Quinlan. There was a Sabine, 2 Han Solos. Alex was on green. John Morris was on yellow. Kyle was on the Anakin. Tada played Kira, Data Vault. And then Daniel Mephisto, he was on Cad Bane. Let's take a look at the top 4 lists. All right, here's Will's list, champion list. That 2 timely interventions won him, in my opinion, the semifinals and the finals. The card just kept showing up and kept doing absolute work. You could see here that Will opted to go with timely even over like a third Darksaber or a third Chewbacca. The timelies really were just absolutely massive. If you're in the KTOD Discord, you know that Will is super active in that thread. A lot of the things that the guys in that thread have talked about, including ECL Sabine's Masterpiece for the anti-Han tech, has been really instrumental. He's on main deck Sundari Peacekeepers. He's got Bright Hopes in the board. That heroic sacrifice won him the game in the finals. If you haven't checked it out, go check it out. This is, it's the aggro list. It's, in a post-ban meta, we definitely expected some number of Sabines to show up. And shout out to Will for running this deck and, taking it to victory. Absolutely incredible run. Really happy for him. Then, of course, we talked about Michael Conroe's legendary run, 11-0-1 with this Quinlan deck. We actually tested with Team Secret. My team did earlier on in the week, so I get to see some of this in action. What really stand out here: the Guerrilla Soldiers, the Disabling Fangfighter main deck, the main deck Bamboozles, all things that are great into Han. He didn't play against any Hans in the event, but the Disabling Fangfighters were huge, and the Guerrilla Soldiers make the deck super aggressive, kind of something that I loved in Jango Fett is now seeing play here in this heroic deck. Other than that, Quinlan's just an incredible, well-balanced deck, and it can get super aggressive. It's got the easy ping Tarkentown to take a unit off the board immediately and then just start pushing damage. It's kind of what I like about the deck. And then you see Michael even has 3 Han Solos, big Hans, to make sure that he can beat opposing Hans in those sort of Han wars. It's got the discard. Quinlan's a very popular deck. I'm sure you've seen these by now, but I really like how clean this list is. It's just like all 3 ofs with 3 2-ofs or 4 2-ofs. Great way to build a list. Just having a little bit of everything with some strong technology that's a complete blowout, like Bamboozle, like Disabling Fangfighter. Those kinds of blowouts win games. All right, and here's the Han Yellow that made top 4. Really impressive to see this deck that everyone kind of thought was dead following the DJ ban show up. We see John Morris here ran a pretty rebel-heavy version early. No, sorry, this is Rebels. We see John ran a pretty balanced version here. He's got Cantina Bouncers. He's got Mandalorians for the aggressive tap and bounce plays. He's got main deck Bamboozles. He's got the hand discard package. And then, the very standard top end of Han and Emphas. What happened here is that in the semifinals, he played against Anakin, which used to be, one of the best matchups Han could have. And because of, not having DJ, and we can flip over to Kyle's list, Kyle from ABG, Kyle Warren, former Destiny player, if you're part of that community with me. What I love about his list is those Outer Rim Outlaws are absolutely busted against Han. Because they attack for 5 with Anakin's ability and they're shielded, they often are killing 2 things on the ground, and it just means that there's no way for Han to stick any ground units, and that makes it a lot easier for Anakin to just kind of ignore space, because the damage race from Han Yellow isn't going to be so great that it can get to 35 very quickly. So we saw Anakin get into the late game. In one of those games was due to Cham Syndulla, because Cham lets you put a resource into play. When Han put a resource down, Cham comes down, puts a resource down. All of a sudden, you're flipping Anakin the same turn your opponent's flipping Han. This is an incredible list. We've seen a lot of, maybe people are calling Euro version of Anakin Colossus with Steel Guerrera and a lot of events. This is really close to how I run Anakin 30 point. I have a little bit stronger early game. I don't use the droids because I'm not as concerned about drawing cards. But Outer Rim Outlaws, Covering the Wing, Bravado Lightsabers, these Cham Syndulla main deck, these are all things that I love to do in Anakin. And then, of course, Kyle has the spicy Resolute in his deck, which I love to see, mainly because I forgot what that card did ever since release. But I had an opportunity to cast the top 4 match, if you want to check it out on Late Night Gaming. It was a blast to cast and really well played match, and I think this deck was sick. All right, we got some Legacy of the Force cards that are new since we podcasted last, so I want to get you guys' take on Watto, a 3-cost 1/6 that on attack the opponent chooses one. Give an experience token to a friendly unit. You give an experience token to a friendly unit, or you draw a card.
I love this, man. I don't know if you got the other card coming up, the blue one coming up. Yeah, the fact that they're just making cards for Mono Blu-ray. Let's go, baby!
Yeah, this is crazy for Mono Blu-ray, right? Like, you can make him a 2/7, and then they can say, all right, now it's a 3/8, or they can let you draw. I like this card a lot. I think it's cool.
Yeah, both those mechanics are just good. Like, both those things are good. Like, an experience token in this game is really valuable. And drawing a card, obviously, in any game is incredibly powerful. In this game, it's probably a little bit less powerful because you're drawing 2 every turn.
But in a deck like Colossus, though.
But a deck like Colossus, it loves... Yeah, Colossus is going to love this guy. Attacks for 3 and then does something.
It'll be good in Anakin, too.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Trade out
right. How many times can this guy hit something? Yeah. Yeah, I think he's pretty cool. And he's an uncommon, which is cool.
Not a villain card. They are interesting how they make those choices. I will
Is
tell
he
you
really
that.
a villain though?
He's neutral. I think Watto's neutral. I don't think he. I mean, I guess he was a slave owner, but
He's definitely not neutral. And so like Tarkin being neutral is wild. And then like who's
young
there's one that they
Tarkin. Young
made.
Tarkin was neutral because he was working
He
for the
was never-
Republic.
Yeah, but
Was he a governor before he was a Moth type of
Yes.
vibe? I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I always
Governor
felt like
Tarkin.
he was never conflicted. He was evil from day one. Watto
Yeah.
was evil from day one.
Well, does that? Yeah, I mean,
Watto
it's
was
tough
trying
when
to
they
get
make
paid,
like
bro.
Jedi neutral. It's tough. But
Well, here's the thing. Who's the guy, the showcase that I pulled? Why is he villain? Come on. The guy from Solo movie?
That's a fair point.
Oh, because he's a
fair point.
criminal.
What?
He's a getaway driver for
Watto's
criminal...
not a criminal.
Watto's a slave owner. By
mean,
that standards, I'm agreeing with Justin.
I'm not going to litigate slave ownership on Tatooine during the Hutt reign, okay?
I am.
I'm not here
he
to do that.
is complicit. Your silence is complicit. You are. You
He wasn't
totally...
silent. He participated, bro.
He's like
Your mind trick's still
rigging
work
a
on me.
chance cube. He's done
Oh,
everything
look at
bad.
that. The slide changed. All right.
And this guy, how is this guy? He's the founder of the Rebel Alliance. How is this guy not a good guy?
Because he also does some bad, like he set up that, spoilers for Andor season 1, but he set up that whole battalion of guys to get killed. Season 1. He's definitely making the hard choices. He's running a rebellion, but he's also doing it, he's definitely killing people for the sake of rebellion that don't necessarily need to be killed. I mean, he's got some villainous traits. I think he's
ruthless.
way more neutral.
Somehow this pod is turned into.
But then Cassian is a hero.
Hero of the Rebellion. So on attack, he's a 4-drop, 4/5. On attack, search the top 5 cards of your deck for an item, upgrade, reveal it, and draw it. If you haven't watched Andor Season 2 yet, you should definitely keep an eye out in the scenes. You should, in Luthen's shop, you should always be looking out. But some of the things they have in Luthen's shop for Season 2
I haven't touched
were
to do that.
fire. So he's an item dealer. He's a antiquities dealer. And this kind of plays into that. So
I assume he can get a lightsaber? Jedi lightsaber?
Lightsaber is an item, I think.
Cool.
There's a
he'll be
slight
great
possibility that it's a weapon, but one thing that
I think he gets all those things. He doesn't get things like entrenched. He doesn't get like perilous, right? Is that the general distinction between like upgrade that's an item? I think the items are all like the things you can.
Yeah, it is an item. Yeah, the lightsaber is an item, and then
I got my deck for Worlds. Oh.
Perilous is a condition. So yeah, they are. And then they also said upgrade, so they could potentially make other things that aren't
like an item non-upgrade. Yeah.
Right.
I like this guy. The only thing is like 5 is just like when you look at cards like a Vader or like a TDR, you can play just such a high Vader gets 10 cards, TDR is 7. You'd still whiff like 5 cards for an item. Like how many?
I didn't realize that it's only 5
actually
cards.
Get it. Like I almost feel like they don't need to make it 5 cards. Like search your deck for an item. Would that actually be like completely broken? Like I would have liked to see this guy at like 2 or 3 attack.
Stoneforge.
He's already overstated though.
You know what I mean?
Search your deck for an item and then play it for free, Stoneforge Mystic style.
Yeah, not play for free, but like if he said search your deck for an item and he wasn't 4 attack, say he was like 2, what would you like? Say he was a 2/5 that said search your deck for an item, but it wasn't 5 cards; it was a search. I think like that would be like a cool he would always do his thing. Like that's the problem with this type of card is that he doesn't.
Yeah, but he's
and
still
it's
a
on
4/5
attack
for 4.
too. On attack too.
But 4/5 for 4. 4/5 for 4 is overstated as it is.
That's true. But
I mean,
they
like Steve, you were playing what was the card? It's like a 3/5 for 4 who steals a shield. Who's that? Hondo. Like they just like making bad cards and they just want the game to be pretty anemic, right? They don't want you doing anything broken. That's why they banned TDR.
Yeah.
So like they're just not going to let you do anything good consistently.
I guess TDR is a bad example considering it was just banned. But it seems like there's just no you're not going to have the consistency with this guy. Like the best thing about him is he's a 4/5 and then like maybe he triggers. But it just seems really hard to get that text to actually work. Like you're going to have so many times where you play him, attack with him. He's a 4/5. Okay, cool. I did 4 damage. But like, oh, look at the top 5. like how many do you actually have to put in your deck? You can't play that many items.
I mean, we whiff on
You just
things
play
like
3
Vader. We
lightsabers.
whiff on things like Jabba. Like it happens.
Yeah, so like how many would like you'd have to play like 14 items in your deck to like have this consistently do anything, and you're just not going to play 14 items unless they make items that are like combo item event or like that
It's
type of
Legends of the
thing.
Force. There's got to
Well,
be some funky lightsabers
They're
coming
doing
out this.
at Worlds.
Yeah.
They announced they're doing a whole lightsaber pack. So like, they're definitely going to be a lot of lightsabers in this new set. And if they're good,
Right.
as opposed to like most of the other lightsabers, then this guy could be really good.
He does get the dark saber.
Does get the dark saber, pretty hot. All right, that's it for the 2 Legends of the Force. Hopefully, we get some more of those soon. All right, we're going to do listener questions now. I don't think we did this one for Yakko last week, but because we haven't done listener questions in a while. But he said, I've been thinking about trying to get on a competitive team, and I was curious what teams generally have to offer players besides a sense of camaraderie and easily accessible testing partners. He shouts out being on a Versus System Pro Tour team in the early 2000s, and they got discounts on singles and stuff. But like, he's won a PQ. He hasn't really attended any other high-level events. What should he really expect about joining a team?
Nothing.
I think
to
it
be honest.
scales. I think it depends. Like it depends on the team. It depends on the game. It depends on the OP. It depends on if it's a store versus like just a group that's trying to prepare. It could be a team that's, hey, we're getting 7 people who are qualified for Vegas together. We want you because we know you're good. All right, what does that mean? That just means it's strategy. It's a shared place to have ideas and get games. It could be a group like ours, right? That's giving some incentive to. We're players, but we're also big parts of like the content of the game and just sort of energy of this game. We want you to be part of that.
I think
right?
we're in a unique spot. I think
it could be a store, right, that just wants like people to buy their online singles and wear a T-shirt that has this stuff. We're partially sponsored. Shout out to Metal Fab for that. I don't think you can go with any expectations. One of the things I would say for this game, it's not going to be being on a team is not going to give you a tremendous amount of non-competitive based value. So you're gonna get value of playing if you're on a team and like getting able to like prepare for events, and that can be valuable to you. But you're not going to get like if you think of the sort of heyday of Magic, and I'm imagine that Flesh and Blood right now is having the same thing where you might get an actual like check post Pro Tour that's like, hey, we did well. Everyone's getting a $5,000 check because of performance, or you did exceptionally. You top 16, so we're actually going to double your prize that Wizards gave you. Mm-hmm. That's pretty unrealistic. I don't think it's going to happen. I think a little bit of extra energy is good. I wouldn't expect sort of a valuation outside of camaraderie and game improvement. And then if it is a store, I'd imagine you're going to get hooked up with some boxes or something like that.
Well, I think that's the problem. I think that's the problem too. Like for a lot of these teams, like the default is, you get a discount on boxes, cases. You get boxes, cases. Like a lot of the store sponsored teams, probably the compensation comes in product. The problem is product's just not worth anything for this game.
Yeah,
right.
So I think if like Justin said, like if you're going into it, I would look for a team that's going to give you the best shot at success on a personal level at the event, because inevitably speaking, that's all that you can really get out of it. Like obviously, like we hook our guys up and we act.
I think like the baseline is like, yes, you're on a team of guys who want to play, but like look at like a Team Secret. Like now they're doing they started as just a team of guys and now they're like slowly putting out content. Like BN has a podcast now. So like it's really what you want to make of it. If you want to start with guys that you play with and try and make some connections, great. A lot of the stuff that like we've done content wise comes out of the 4 of us, like our personalities and like meshing with each other and like that educational vibe. So like that's what we've built on because that's what we have. And you can kind of choose to build what you have. If you have a team of competitive guys that love brewing, then like maybe you're the guys who make deck videos or make deck techs or, like what Woo does, like sells his deck lists and stuff. Like, I think you can make of it whatever you want, but if you want to work with people, you should find people that you want to work with and have goals and set them. If your goal is to go win a tournament, then you don't need anything more than camaraderie and testing partners. But if you want more than that, then you've got to find people that have like-minded goals and do it. Or you get your friends to do it with you. You just convince them that it's going to work out, and then they do it.
Yep.
I'm still not convinced.
I know you're not. We're doing okay.
Sure.
And then like if you can find someone who like has a business and wants, players on their team repping their brand, like that's what we found. Like we have good players and we have them do all sorts of stuff and we hook them up like compensation monetarily. So that's definitely the top end, I would think.
And I think some of the things, like when you look back at like teams, we've teamed for various games. Obviously, like our friendship was formed sort of through the original Star Wars CCG game. But then, like, we were in Versus, and it was, we were part of larger teams. There was a Deck Tech team, and then we ended up just sort of like, when I look back at that, I don't say, oh, it was sweet that we got, like, it was sweet that we got Rook cases.
Right.
That's not part of it, right? Like, when I was on a team for Portland for a pro tour.
I mean,
and
shout out the Metal Fab.
That stuff's cool. But like I remember a
insane.
picture of we had an Airbnb and we drafted on a rooftop and it was like Andrea Mangucci and Ben Friedman and Matt Ferrando and it was like a really Dan Jordan. It was like a really cool picture of all of us just getting ready. We had 2 European players and it was cool to like meet people from Europe and they were really nice guys. Joe Demestrio was on that squad. So it was like we spent a week in Portland and we drafted and we went out to grab Michael Majors was on that team. So like I don't think of like what did I get out of that. It was such a disorganized team. Some of us did okay.
Yeah, fun, right?
But I don't remember the prizing. I remember Ben came in 9th. Made D2 couldn't actually get there. But like
sounds familiar.
I remember like we walked over a bridge that we weren't supposed to walk over. Like it was actually there wasn't a sidewalk. It was bridge over a river and it was like terrifying because we didn't know how to, and it's like that memory. So like if you get on a team and you have those moments versus me, we were in LA and we were in like a pool and hanging out with some people from Australia and stuff like that with TJ. So like that type of stuff is what you get a take from it. So I wouldn't necessarily associate like a list of structures because you're actually gonna get out the most is like just the camaraderie when you actually all go to the tournament and you're wearing that shirt and you're doing your cool thing, and then someone's crushing it. I mean, you saw us with Steve. For those of you who saw that video of. When they announced your name, you got 7th. Like we were so hyped. I was yelling. Alex was yelling.
Bro, I had to put my bag down because I knew what was coming.
Mike
watch it. It's like I dropped the bag because I knew it was happening.
Mike was still scrounging for prize tickets at that point.
I was hustling, baby. You can see me in the background making deals. No, I was devastated for my own O2, but I was happy for Steve and just didn't have the energy at that exact second.
Right.
No, that's all good, bro.
Yeah, but no, I'm of course happy for you. All right. Inspired by a post in the Massholes New England regional chat, if someone's familiar with TCGs but brand new to SWU asked you to recommend deck that could have a decent play into any archetype, what would you recommend? Hypothetically, they're going to buy all the cards to make the deck, so getting bang for your buck might be a consideration as well. I think that this is a pretty easy one for me. I would just say Sabine. Like it's super linear. The cards don't change that often. The legendaries are really good, and there's only a few, right? It's like just Poe.
I think you could track Sabine, but you could track back like decks that are just consistently doing pretty well. Like I agree. I think Sabine's the one that does the most there.
I think doing the same thing every game. Like if you're new to SWU, you want to like have some repetitions to sort of lean into.
I think on a broader scale though, like it's less about Sabine and more about playing the aggro deck. Like you could probably parallel this to any card game. Like if you had to pick one deck that you could only buy and you had to play, like always pick the aggro deck because it's like you said, it's linear, it does its thing, and in some instances there's like always an aggro deck in every game.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's always there on the rock paper scissors. So I mean, as I agree with you, I think on a broader scale you can kind of apply that to any game too. Like when I first started playing Magic, it was always Zoo. I played Zoo for the first.
That's true. I think there's probably like some level of control. Like you could recommend a control deck that like, well, you just remove everything they play and then you slam Devastator. Like think about Vader Blue from set 1, right? Like all right, just remove everything they have, play Super Laser Blast, then flip Vader and you win.
Yeah, fair enough.
Something like that.
It's a tricky question to navigate a little bit because it does have like the sort of easy answer of like aggro Sabine. But then you recognize like where are we scaling this? Like because if you look at like the top, I think aggro in a sense can be harder to play than control, because control has that pivot point, like you're saying. Like once you get to a devastator, it's not hard to win. But it can be really hard to close a game as aggro and play to your outs in certain ways. So I think it gets hard like this. You recommend they can have a decent play in any archetype. There is that angle, like you can win some games, but you're not going to do well if you don't actually put in work and play. Like you can't expect to do well if you don't put in time regardless. So no matter what the deck is, I think the list, hey, what's the list? That's all. I've always thought that stuff was overrated.
Mm-hmm.
Like just playing tight and understanding, gameplay and practice is no substitute for that.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, Envy had another question. What decks are giving you the most attention as we're all figuring out this post-suspension meta? So, like, we talk about this on the Tournament Prep podcast, but I thought it might be a good opportunity for us to mention the Tournament Prep podcast again and talk about how we mention this stuff every week on that podcast, where we talk about what we would play if we had a tournament this weekend. And, of course, next weekend we do have a tournament. So what's on you guys' mind for decks to play at the PQ in Connecticut?
I'm actually in the fortunate position where I'm not going to the BQ.
Oh, nice.
But I think, yeah, right.
I wasn't sure if you were going to go anyway.
I want to go to Scoop, but I got to go look at wedding venues that Saturday. So, but either way,
just check them out in Connecticut.
Oh yeah, right. Good luck. The point I was trying to make is though, at least my game plan. The next tournament I'm playing in is Minnesota. So like I'm actually going to be looking at the results that come out from Richmond this weekend, and I'm gonna pick a deck that I think looks like something that would suit my play style and like a deck that I like to play, because I'm that type of person that even if it's like I'd never played Django, even though it was the best deck, because like it just didn't feel right for me, right? So like I'm gonna look at the results, find one of the decks that I think looks right, and then I'm just gonna get as many possible reps as I can between here and mini, because like I'm learning the lines. I think Denver, I mean, kind of showed to some extent that I was emotionally attached to that deck, so I wanted to play it. And while that deck was definitely not the best deck, I knew the lines and the matchups to the point where I did have some success, right? So I think having that understanding of whatever deck you're going to play is more important now than ever, because the meta is so wide open, that I think actually like having the deck is less important.
I agree with that. I'm looking at Sabine. I'm looking at Han. I definitely got to take the results from Richmond and look to see if anything sort of strikes my fancy. I think one of the things that we're seeing is like, in practice, players are getting better, lines are getting better, margins are coming down. So like win rates of 80% and stuff like that are less to be found. You're looking at winning less as you're practicing, and I think it kind of goes with what Steve's saying. So trying to find a deck that I can identify with a little bit and feel like it is strong in my hands, because you're not just seeing like, okay, a deck that's going to be able to strike a meta and just completely take it by storm. I don't think we'll see that. So I think I want to kind of tap into something that's just going to play to my strengths.
I used to get a lot of like slack, whatever you want to call it, like back in Star Wars CCG, because I used to always say like, no one's really, there's very few good players. Like there might be like 2 or 3 really good players. Like one of the things I noticed from Denver is like so many from on a personal, so many mistakes were made. Like I made plenty of mistakes in like the games that I was both winning and obviously the major punts in the games that I lost on stream. But like there are so many individual choices to be made in the course of this game that like everyone, I think very few people play the lines perfectly. So if you can limit your losses, or your mistakes, I should say, by limiting your mistakes to whoever the players with the fewer mistakes is probably going to get there. Because I think this game is built so there's so many decisions to be made that there is such a large like standard deviation in terms of like how many actual mistakes you make during the course of the game.
Yeah, I agree.
Which I think is a great the mechanics of the game are great because it allows for that, but it's hard.
Yeah, it's a tough game to play well.
Yeah.
All right. From set 1 onward, we've seen the domination of cunning and broken leaders like Boba and him getting printed broken sets. Anyway, this is a question. Is FFG bad at balancing SWU? Mainly talking about how like yellow keeps getting hit. Like every card that's ever been suspended is yellow. I mean, do you think they're bad at this? I say yes. I don't. If we try to make a list of all the things that they're doing well, I don't know how many things that I'd name, but I don't think that they're balancing it super well.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think I do think they're bad at balancing it, but I don't think it is like they're continuously making the same mistakes. Like I think the problem with the yellow was probably made at the very beginning because how many sets did they make before the game even came out, right? Like I gotta imagine with the fact that they don't even have like the showcases printed, like actually like printing the cards is somewhat of an issue for this company, it seems like. So like they probably made sets 1 through 4 before like they even released set 1.
Yeah.
I don't know, but like that would be my speculation. So like the repeated yellow, like I don't think they're necessarily making the same mistake twice. I think they made the same mistake really bad at the beginning, and it's just it's going to take them a lot longer to correct it because they made it over the course of X amount of sets. But I would be curious to know what set are they working on now? Like what's their timeline?
8. They're working on 8 right now. Like they're like finishing 8, starting 9.
I would say I think like from their ground up, it's been bad with like all the yellow stuff and like the printing like the tank and Devastator with TDR being in the format and Django seems kind of, I don't know how that one slips by. But you've seen like the reactions seem pretty reasonable. Like they did ban Boba, they did ban things. We're looking at Richmond, the pie chart's pretty wide. I wonder how much response they do have to their own meta in terms of design. Like I do think it's interesting that like Chewie says you can't be bounced.
Right.
Is an interesting one. Like I wonder, and that was never a text we saw anywhere else prior to Chewie. And Waylay and stuff like that and Cunning has been very powerful early on. So I just wonder, like, if that's a case where they're saying, hey, bounce is too strong and we're going to balance this by making this really powerful card. This is it can't be bounced. That's like a step in the right direction. I wish that like they'd sort of cut off some of the obvious stuff ahead of time. But like games do have cracks of things being really, really strong. So I don't think you're always going to have like perfect balance. I do wish that there were leaders that were more. I wish the choices of your leader were a little bit more. Like if you're red, green, hero, aggro, it's pretty hard not to be Sabine. I wish that like they would make the other leaders a little bit stronger. I think rotation will help with that. But you look at like it would be nice to see like the Mando leader be some way better than Han. It's just never going to be that, right? Or like Cassian leaders is never going to be better than Sabine, and you're always going to have some that are bad, but it does feel like there's just too many that are bad, and some that maybe had like cool ideas associated with them, but then you just decided to give them like one attack. Like who's that one that lets you play all the clones? Like flips on 4.
Or like look
cool,
at
cool text, but like why make this card with one attack here? Nalise. Like right. That's actually like, and you like prevented your own creativity by just not being able to push it a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. I'm with you. I think it would be cool to have a little bit more variety. Or like when you were just talking about the Nalise, the first thing that came to mind is who's the chick from Game of Thrones? The girl.
Daenerys?
Oh, Phasma.
Oh. Like Phasma looks great. That I was excited when they dropped that. She looks awesome.
Funny,
there's no first orders.
Yeah, I've been
right.
seeing her a lot in games that I've been playing lately.
There's just no first
orders. Like make some 2-drops that are first orders that aren't.
Yeah, and if the next set is going to be all Jedi Force, there's not going to be any in there. So like by the time they make some, it's going to rotate.
Maybe. I mean, they could do like the guy, like, I think that they have, because Kylo, they've already said Kylo's going to be, well, I guess it leaked, right? Kylo's going to be a leader in the next set. So, like, there could be some First Order stuff in there.
Yeah, I hope so. I
It's
think
not going to be
she's-
like a complete Jedi set, you know?
Yeah. Okay. I don't know anything about what's coming up other than the name.
Well, we've already got, like, Watto and
I guess we got
Luthen,
Watto,
right?
yeah.
So, like, you know that they're going to do other stuff.
They're definitely printing slavers.
All right. Last one. Fun one. If you could create the Death Star
Oh my
unit, what would
God.
it do?
Man.
Win you the game.
Yeah, I think, like, for me, it'd be, like, every other turn.
Yeah.
Like, you'd have to charge it up. Maybe you could, like, sacrifice Super Laser Technician or something to it. But then, like, it would just auto-damage base. It didn't have to attack, but it would just hit base for auto-damage.
I'd
I
love
would
to see
say.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say I'd love to see like some type of mechanic where it's like you have to do X, Y, and Z, and then if you do, you win the game, and it's actually something that is doable. Like you could actually create a combo based
Like,
off of
alternate win condition. Yeah, they tried to do that for Destiny.
Well, I got a good one. Is that you destroy your opponent's base, not the life total,
But
you take away the
text.
color.
Oh,
and
the
text.
color. The color would be cool. I didn't think about that. I was
Oh, they're
thinking
just
text,
so
but like,
crippled.
if it wasn't an early drop, like they'd already used their ECL or whatever. But taking away
Yeah,
its
like
color would
basically
actually be
you
sick.
it would have like a counter, like so you literally have a blank 25, 24, 27, 30, 33, 35, 34 that you would basically just like deploy on their base. Like you'd hand them their base because it
could
would
make
still
it-
have the life. Or
That's
not even.
fair.
It could literally be like your life, your damage remains, but your base becomes like 25, which would be sick. Because imagine like
That's
blowing
cool.
up the data vault and then all of a sudden you just lose.
Yeah, that would be sick. All right, get
It's only
would
a
actually
single
be
reactor
insane.
though.
get Justin on the design team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can make the Death Star a base like Lake Country is, and the game text on it be like blank the game text on your opponent's base.
Yeah,
Yeah, that'd
do
be
something
cool,
like
too.
that.
Like
You could,
if you deploy
strip
when
the
you
ECL
deploy
text.
if your leader is Tarkin
Krennic.
or Emperor Palpatine,
Which target?
when you flip your
Which
leader, the opponent's bases are destroyed. That's not bad. That could be a real base.
Yeah,
Right there.
I dig it.
Like I just gave it.
Cool. All
Let's
right.
see how much influence you have.
Well, thanks for checking this out. We appreciate it. We'll see you in 2 weeks with sort of like, I guess, post PQ for us and pre-mini podcast.
Let's go, mini baby. It's
Do it,
gonna be
baby.
fire.
All right.
We gotta book a mansion
Let's do it. All right, hop on Airbnb. I'm out.
later.